So like that. So back when we could use the two bikes, like I remember we were at Daytona one year on the 450, and Daytona is this little small slick short track, and in the main event we went in the first corner and I wadded it up and I ripped the exhaust off it or something. So then my mechanic and my buddy, they ran, got the backup bike, brought it out to me, and this is back when it was a carbureted bike. It was an '08 Honda 450.
Yeah.
And I go do the start, and I go to the first corner, and then like the thing quit on me. And I reached down, and they never turned the gas on. You know, the petcock. So I mean, right in the main event, everyone rides by me, and I'm in last. And I reached down, turned the petcock on, bumped it back off, and it took off. So it.
Well, at least you had the presence of mind to think about that during a main event while you're racing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's funny
Like,
too,
I
because
don't
like.
know. You know.
Back when I rode that bike, it was always like I was like weird about it. I would always check to make sure the gas was on. So
Yes.
maybe that was it.
So tell me, how's your day going? What's new with you? And tell me a little bit about your backstory, so we give everybody a little bit about you.
It's going good. I had a cold, miserable, wet day at work today, but other than that, though, all good. So just we wrapped up the season last week in Daytona, so it's been nice to kind of have like our first, because we went like 8 weeks nonstop or something, or it felt like 8 weeks. So it's kind of nice just to kind of have a week where I'm not like thrashing and trying to get bikes ready or driving across the country to go to another race. So
yeah, or
nice
hopefully not recovering from any injuries. You know, with that back to back, week after week after week, you don't get a lot of time to recover from a little off or even just soreness.
Yeah, I was lucky enough though this year. I really didn't hit the ground too many times. And if it was just through the week on a moto bike or something, just playing around. So, but racing wise, I stayed on two wheels the whole season, which was a plus.
That's great. And you're in American Flat Track, and what class is that again?
The production twin class.
And how do you like those bikes? Is that different than what you were riding before?
I rode singles the past few years, and it's just I don't know, the singles class. It's it's like right now it's like it's the best racing in flat track pretty much. Because I mean, all the bikes, they're all production motocross 450s, and it's like no one can really get away from each other. They're all like exactly the same. And I mean, I know in like the moto world, people complain about like, oh, the Suzuki's slow and the KTM is light and blah blah blah. But like when you get out on the flat track, everyone's the exact same. I mean, everyone builds the motors. Everyone's got big horsepower. They're all, they all handle pretty much the same for the most part. So it's like, it's really hard for people to get like away from each other on the racetrack and stuff. And like when those dudes qualify, it's like first through 20, that's like, 2-3 tenths almost.
Right. Yeah.
So
pretty
we're
cool
like,
to see.
yeah. Oh, it's awesome racing. It's just, I don't want to be out there doing it,
Yeah.
So with the production twin though, it's been kind of a fairly new thing that AFT just started, just been the past 2 years. And, they call it production twin, but honestly, like our bikes, we're the most custom, like hand-built bikes out there because, like the super twin class, they call it now, everything they ride, it's all, basically Indians that you buy right from Indian Motorcycle, and they're a done race bike that you buy.
Yeah. So,
and then, Harley's got a few of the XG 750s that those are also, they're a factory in-house made race bike. So with us though, I mean, we really take a street bike motor, like like I ride the Yamaha FC07. A lot of guys ride Kawasaki, like Ninja 650s. There's a few factory Harleys out there which are really cool. So you can run an SV 650. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's KTM, the new 790 Duke. There's not one of those out there yet, but there's a lot of rumors of people gonna get one out.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of options. Like we probably have the most like diverse brand wise out of all the three classes.
Yeah.
And but yeah, basically, we just steal the motor out of them and they go right into custom built race chassis. Everything's got to be hand built, machined, welded, fabricated, and we put bikes together and go race them. So
straight from the showroom to the racetrack. There's no street time involved usually.
No, and usually not. Well, that's like me. Like I don't even start with an FC07. I buy the motor right from Yamaha, and then I put the brand new unstarted motor. We tear it right apart. We bore it, put pistons in it. We do the whole deal, and it goes right into a race frame. So those things they never even get a chance to see the asphalt before I get a hold of them.
Now, are you doing a lot of the mechanical work yourself, or do you got a crew around you that does most of the engine work, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so really, it's just me and my older brother. He's really involved in my race program, and I mean, yeah, we do everything ourselves. You know, we get a bare frame. You just raw metal with we weld some tabs on it right from the frame company, and that guy, he's just a small guy in his garage, who he's got a jig and he welds them up, and he's been doing it a long time. He's very good at what he does. But yeah, we get a bare frame, and then like I said, the or the motors come right from Yamaha. We take them. We do all the assembly ourselves, but some of the stuff like Vance and Hines, they help us out a ton with doing like some CNC work on the heads. They build the exhaust for us, and then other than that, though, we get a big pile of parts and we assemble and fab and just kind of we make a race bike out of it.
Yeah, it's all nuts and bolts in the end. It seems really daunting and scary when you never put one together before, but you just
Hmm.
time and piece by piece, it just comes together. And you also have a crew with you too that helps.
Not really. I mean, when I go to the races, it's just it's like we went to Daytona. Funny story. Like my van, I had an issue with my van on the way home from um, what was it? It would have been Atlanta, like a few rounds before. So I took it to the trans was kind of messing up. It wouldn't go into reverse, blah blah blah. So then for one round, I borrowed a van from a guy around town. Went to the
Yeah.
race, and then the dealer was telling me, "Oh yeah, van will be done, no big deal. Like it'll be fine." So it's like the Wednesday before Daytona, and we race on Friday, and my van wasn't done.
Yeah.
So I'm like scrambling. So I threw a bike in the back of a pickup truck and grabbed my girlfriend, and we took off for Daytona. And I mean, it was bare minimum. Just I had my pop up, my bike, and my toolbox pretty much. But
Yeah.
it all worked out. I podium both days, which was awesome. But yeah, that's kind of the one thing I kind of lacked that I wish I had was an actual like a solid like the team part of it behind me.
Yeah.
But I get it done. I do what I got to do sometimes. But it definitely would be awesome to have a group of 3 or 4 guys fully dedicated to go to the race every weekend with me.
Sure. And so you'd say, from hearing that, I would assume you're not a factory rider yet?
No, not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Um, and how much do you think that would alone just help you out as far as you don't have to worry about as much? You just show up with a plane ticket and just show up and race?
And yeah, like it's really not like my bikes are really good. Like my equipment and everything, like, it's already really good. So it's not really that I'm lacking, but it's just the whole it's just like the whole like the team atmosphere, or just having someone that's with you at every round and just like the same mechanic, the same, let's say like a rider coach or something. I
Yeah.
think that's where those like where like the big teams and stuff where that really makes things easier too. And even
Yeah.
like through the week, like like I work in the summertime, like I work for my dad, so he's really cool. He gives me time off to go racing and stuff. But like it's I work all day, then I got to work on bikes all night, and then
Yeah.
when we're like mid-season back-to-back races, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'm still working on the bikes and trying, you know what I mean, trying to get ready.
Right.
So stuff
Yeah.
like that would definitely be a lot easier. But like in my case, it's cool because like I have full control of everything. If I want to change something, I do it, or if I don't like a little something, I can do it. Where I know a lot of guys, they get on the big team and like the big contracts and everything, when they're stuck with something, like they're stuck with it. So
Yeah.
it's I think there's goods and bads for sure, but it definitely would make things a whole lot easier on me just flying in and
Yeah.
flying in with a gear bag and riding.
It's,
So
it sounds like a nice idea, but I think you maybe sometimes learn more if you do it all yourself, if you, at least at the beginning, maybe not forever, but
hmm
once you learn what it takes to set up the canopies, to unload the trailer, to put the bikes on the stands and put them on the
yeah,
warmers. I don't even know if you guys use tire warmers in flat track, to be honest, but
no, sometimes,
sometimes.
yeah.
Um, and would you say that you are on your ideal bike? Is that Yamaha the bike to be on?
It is. I mean, I think it's so like I know like you had James Rispoli on a few
Yeah.
podcasts ago. I just listened to part of that before this. So like he rides the Harley, and the thing about the Harley is like when you it's a little it's pricey, it's a lot more expensive than to build a Yamaha. But like when you get the Harley, it's done, it's there, it's made to go around in a circle.
Yeah.
It's that they have a few little issues where like I know they were blowing up a lot of motors and stuff, but like it's just the platform is just so solid and it's just a lot more like user friendly, I guess. Where like at some certain tracks, like we go to like big slippery like clay half miles,
Yeah.
that thing it's just it wants to do that. Where the Yamahas, it's like like the Yamahas, they're parallel twins. And it's just the way the Harley, the V twin puts the power down. And it's just like I just think sometimes it might be a little bit easier if we had that V twin power.
Yeah.
And I think next year you're going to see a lot of guys on those Harleys because like James dominated this year. But I mean,
Yeah.
he not every round. He got beat, by a Yamaha or me, Corey, Texer, he was on a Yamaha, and then Varn's on a Cowie. So, the Jap bikes can still do it, the parallel twins, but it's just at some places I think it's a little bit harder to do
Yeah.
to beat that smooth V-twin power of the Harley.
And that's what I think is really interesting about racing in general. Any series is you go to different tracks and different manufacturers excel over some others that used to dominate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always about what bike you're on. It's sometimes what track you're at with the bike that you have.
Yeah, and that's what's funny. So like Vance and Hines, the guys that build the XG750, the Harley, they run that whole Harley program. Like I said, they do all like my CNC port work and everything, and they build my exhaust, and I dyno actually right at their race shop. So they know my exact horsepower number compared to what their XG is and everything.
Yeah.
And they toward the end of the year when I went in 180 mile, and then we were doing some dyno afterwards, and they just even told me like, man, like you're a few horse down from that Harley, so that's pretty cool what you're doing.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think it's just the whole dynamic and just how some tracks come to some bikes, and just one thing might be better one day and one thing better the other day. But I think with the Harley though, it's just a little bit overall just a little bit more user friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like the Yamaha and the Cowies can't go win. I mean, because they do. But yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if I could have a Harley and a Yamaha, that'd probably be the best thing.
Ride them like skis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I've never been on a flat track in my life. It is definitely something that's perked my interest or piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
I hear guys like James Rispoli excelling, and you got Hayden Gillum, or there's a lot of road racers who make the transition to the flat track, and then
JD Beach,
yeah, JD Beach is a big one, and he's a guy who's won at the top level of flat track and road racing, which is something that Nicky Hayden has done as well. And you just don't see that very often. You see even guys like Jake Gagne go from motocross and superbikes, but not flat track that I know of. Cool to see the different disciplines being used. Is there any other discipline that you would foresee yourself going into, or at least practicing in?
Not, I mean, I ride moto like in the summer, twice a week almost, just for like training to stay in shape. But I mean, I'm not that fast, I can hold my own, and I'm not a squid, but I would definitely never go like race A class or anything,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd love to, go road race, and I went to a few track days and stuff, and drug the knee and everything. But I think that'd be cool to actually, get a bike and focus on it for a little bit and kind of see how that goes. But again, I feel like that's just I feel like if you're going road racing, you got to go road racing. You got to focus on it. You really got to be dedicated, and just like anything though.
Sure.
So, but yeah, like you said though about the road racers crossing over, it's funny too. Like when like on we call them TT tracks, they have a right turn and a jump. Like in qualifying, I remember one year, like I was following Gillum at this one little TT track that was really kind of tight and turny, and he was doing lines that I was like, man, like I never even thought of that, But I think that was just like the road race background crossing over, just line selection and stuff like that. So I think it definitely does help those guys too. Just kind of learning just like the line selection and the roll speed and the corners and your front brake too. I'm sure that's huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, line selection is everything in a road race bike. I mean, maybe not everything, but it's very big. And you see, like the differences in motocross. There's not a whole lot of lines in motocross. It's rutted out. Sometimes it's a high line or a low line. You can't really make your own line. And that always, I don't race motocross either, but I'd love to do that as training as well. But it's like it just seems so different to me. It's like I would like to take this line, but you just can't. It's different. And then flat track, there might be a high line or a low line, but the TTs, you definitely see there's more opportunities out there.
Yeah, for sure.
That jump aspect of it, does that scare you at all? Is that nerve-wracking sometimes? How does that?
No, they're never big jumps. I mean, Peoria is like that's like the big daddy of all the TTs we go to.
Yeah.
They changed it now, but a few years ago, it was pretty much, whoever could sky the thing off the jump. And it was like, it was over 100 foot.
Yeah.
The
That's
jump.
not little.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not, it wasn't like a double. It was pretty much just a lip but you were turning going off the lip. That's what made it scary. And then
Yeah.
you just kind of land on this big downhill thing. But no, like the TTs we go to now, they're usually just like kind of just like a bump kind of, and then you flat land really hard and aggressively, and yeah, it's that kind of sucks about it. But
Yeah.
it would be cool though to show up one day and actually have like a like a tabletop or something where you could actually jump. Because right now, like we honestly just it's like you jump and just flat land pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially on the big bikes too. I've been like on the twins. They're 300 and 310, 320 pounds with like no suspension, and they jump those things, and it's brutal watching them sometimes.
Are you bottoming out when you hit?
No, we got them stiffened up enough where you're not going to bottom anything out. But like we went to I rode one last year, and I broke the foot pegs off when I landed. Just because just the impact.
The force.
Yeah.
It's a lot of force. Yeah, it's a fun sport. So what got you into flat track versus baseball or something?
I don't know, just something like the whole family did. Like I know you work with my Uncle Rob, for example. He did it when he was younger. He had a pro license. He
Okay.
traveled around, did the whole deal a little bit. And then so that's my mom's brother. Then on my dad's side too, they all raced flat track. None of them really went pro or anything, but it was kind of just like that's everyone did it. It was just a fun thing to do on the weekends. My older brother, he did it for a while. He had a pro license. Didn't really go to too many races or excel too much, but it was just kind of a thing that everyone did in my family. So when I was little and when I was riding, went to a few flat track races and did pretty good, and it stuck, and it just kind of consuming ever since then.
And you probably started on a 50 when you were 5 years old?
Yeah, I really didn't race until I was on 80s, but like I rode since I was little. Like I had like the PW just like everybody else, and I did the whole thing. But yeah, it wasn't really till I was probably like, I don't know, 10ish maybe on the 80s that we really started going to races and kind of getting into a little bit more. And I don't know, I think that was almost a good thing, because I see like a lot of my childhood friends and stuff that raced, like they had like the 50 dads that like forced them to race and were like into it, and I feel like they get burnt out by the time you're older and you get on the big bikes and everything. So it's kind of nice to kind of not be burnt out and still have the drive to do it and everything, and just not look back and I just see like a lot of the dads at the races and the kids just yelling and screaming at each other and everything. So it's nice to it's nice to not go through that, I guess. So
and I come from like kind of the opposite background. My family did not want me to race at all. Nobody in the family races. Nobody knows anybody who races. That kind of there's no knowledge of it at all. I'd see it on TV. It's like, I like that. I don't know how to get into it at all. Next step would be. So it was a long time before I ever got into racing, and it took me until I got arrested for speeding before I really started getting serious about the racetrack.
And road racing, like, if you were like let's say like a kid and you wanted to road race, like, what do you do? Is there like?
It's difficult. I don't know the right answer to that, but buy a small 125cc or a 250, or if you're even younger than that, you could do like the O Valleys are really now.
I've seen those.
Those are great for training. But even like I would recommend a 50 or 125, like I said, or 100cc dirt bike even, and go to kart tracks would be a good way to get your foot, wet and try it out. But it's a big barrier of entry for the sport because it's so expensive. So maybe bicycles. Try to get in bikes, and if you like that, then you can make stuff up.
Really, I mean, flat track too. That's probably the place to go as a kid, and on little bikes. And then I mean, I could name 10 of them. Between JD, Jake Lewis, Nick McFadden, Gillum, Dallas Daniels, who just won the 450 championship. He was a pretty big road racer. He rode the little bike, the 300.
He was on a KTM 390, I think.
Yeah. And I know he rode a Cowie for a little bit, but yeah, he was big in the Moto America thing for a while. So I feel like that is a good segue to get road racing.
I'd say so. It's something I like to try. I don't know of a flat track around me. I have to check my the maps around me, but I wouldn't even know where to ride it. You have to look into it and research just like anything. And
that's the thing that kind of sucks is like the whole, even like the Michigan District 14, the amateur flat track thing. It sucks. I mean, there's really, it's kind of like when I was a kid, like District 14 flat track, like we'd show up to the race and there'd be 15, 20, 80s and like people were serious about it, and like all the kids were friends, and we raced each other hard and everything. Now it's just like it kind of fell apart. Like, I don't know if it's just there's not that many kids, coming up or doing it, but, like just the amateur races, they're not what they're used to be, and there's not that many of them. We used to have a lot of like different tracks. We'd have like the short track, the TTs, the half miles, all this stuff. Now it's like they go to the same two short tracks 20 times a year, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
it kind of sucks. But like on the flip side of that, it seems like that the local races really kind of toned down, but then there's these big huge amateur races around the country too. And it's cool to see that, because it's like everyone from everywhere shows up to those and races each other.
Yeah. Then you see
So
what the talent level really is and where you have to be to beat these guys.
yeah, exactly, for sure.
Now, do you still do any amateur racing for training, or is it all just 100% pro right now?
I don't like if there's like Lucky Thumb Motorcycle Club, they're up in the Thumb area, Deeford. Once in a while, they'll have like a kind of like a money race, and a lot of the pros show up to that just to try to make some money and stuff. And
Yeah.
like I'll go to like one or two of those, but no, for the most part, like in the summer, I'm so busy going to the races and riding, working on the bikes, training and stuff. I really don't have a lot of time to do that. But like in the winter time too, like there's a lot of like those big amateur races like I was talking about, like in Florida and like Georgia, South Carolina, and then like all the pros show up to them in the winter, because that's really all that's going on. And the
Yeah.
national series isn't going on, so that's like the place to be in the winter time. So I think the next one is like right over Thanksgiving. There's like a big 3-day race in South Carolina that everyone's going to show up to. So
Okay.
that'll be the place.
Yeah. I've been trying to get AFT more on my radar now that I'm interviewing some of the racers who are in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and man, I just love watching racing and following it, and seeing the characters progress. And I saw you got a couple podiums this year. It's just great to see
Yeah.
that. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's such a small world. I was talking to Rob. He was replacing something in the office the other day. I was like, hey, you got that your nephew's number? I want to talk to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. And it's just it's great to connect.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like just what James says, like racing, it's just kind of one of those things that just brings people together, something to talk about, or, like even especially flat track being so somewhat small, like you could say anybody at the flat track race and I'd probably say, oh yeah, like I know that guy.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And even like the pro thing, like in like the pits, everybody knows everybody. Like there is just no like stragglers kind of.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
it's really cool for sure.
And how do track days work? Do they do track days for practice time at flat tracks?
No, not really. I mean,
It's
there
just
might be like
racing?
a local track that'll have like a practice day, I guess you can go ride, but in like around us, there's nothing like that really.
Yeah.
But just this year too, like, and I don't know if it was just with the whole like our messed up schedule from the COVID and everything, but they would have like an open test day the day before the race.
Okay.
But I mean, you'd have to pay to do it. It wasn't just like a come out and ride thing.
Sure.
So, but I mean, which was cool, because like if we were going to a new track, you could show up and have 8 sessions of testing before the race the next day.
Which is so valuable. I mean, it's just crazy to me, coming from the road racing side of things, that you guys will do 4 laps for practice and call that practice.
Yeah.
That, I mean, and your lap is like a quarter mile or a half mile. It's very, very short. You're doing maybe 2 miles out there and coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Lap for us is 2 miles, and we do 15, 20-minute session. So you're doing, several laps, and you really get to feel the bike. Does 4 laps feel like enough time?
Yeah, well, I mean, like the thing is too, is like the track changes so much in between sessions. Like you're only going to get so much. Like you can go out for like, if we go out for practice sometimes and like it's overwatered, or it's, let's say like really like unprepped or something, we'll come back in, like we like won't even look at the lap times, because like it's going to change so much. So I mean, yeah, though, and I think like our qualifying, they moved it to 6 laps too. So for the most part too, like everyone in qualifying, they put their fast lap in lap like 2 or 3. So it's not like, if we were out there for 10 minutes, someone was going to lay down a heater on like, lap 50. It's just, but yeah, it's pretty much enough. In the races, it's cool because like the track does change like throughout, like our main events are timed this year. So on the big tracks, it was like, I don't know, 10 minutes plus 2 laps. And in that 10 minutes, yeah, the track does change huge. Like we're like half a second different lap times, which
It's
for
significant.
us is, oh yeah, it's huge for us. So, It's cool too, because like, you can find something or the track comes in really good or something.
Yep.
But yeah, in practice and qualifying, I mean, if you don't get it done in 6 laps, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
And you guys, I would assume, don't have a ton of tire wear, but you're still changing tires every weekend?
no, we do. Like we go to some places like Volusia. It's like a really abrasive banked. It's like a World of Outlaws sprint car track. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's like really like abrasive clay. And like, we could wear a tire out in a main event there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, and a brand new tire isn't necessarily the best thing to have either. The tires kind of work better on those kind of tracks once they get a little worn in and the edges kind of wore off of them, and you're a little bit down more in the rubber.
Okay.
So there is kind of it's kind of a thing where you want to go out on a good scuffed in tire, but you want to make sure the tire lasts the whole race.
Yeah.
So like a place like that, we'll change tires quite a bit. And then like we go to like a place like we call them cushions, like horse tracks that are a little bit deeper and like not clay, like more of like a pea gravel or like a sandy base. And there, I mean, we want the brand new edge every time you go out so the tire can dig.
Yeah.
So there, we'll have, 2 or 3 wheels with new tires on them, and we'll make sure we keep a fresh edge on it.
Is it just the rears or the fronts too?
No, I get like the deep, like the looser, the cushion tracks, the fronts really don't wear out that much. Like, you can go 2 races probably on a front tire.
Yeah.
On the grooves though, or like even like the miles, like the big fast tracks where like you're really hooked up, then you start to notice the front tires start to roll off a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, pretty much we can always go at least a whole day on a front.
Yeah.
Like I've never had to change a front tire midday, so.
Yeah.
But
I just met someone, sorry to interrupt. I just met someone who just found out that the front wheel is not a drive wheel.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
funny.
So yeah, people are at different learning stages all the time.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so you said you do a little bit of motocross training 2 times a week. You're on the
Yep. I try. I mean, it's not. I can't always go out, get off work, and ride twice a week. But ideally, though, that's my schedule.
Yep. And is there any other kind of training you do? You do cardio or weight training or anything?
Yeah, in the winter, like I row a lot. I get on a little program, and I like to keep up on that. I do a spin class in the winter time. And then in the summer, I mountain bike a little bit, not as much as I probably would like to or I should. And then I'll go on like a little run once in a while. But really, I mean, that's it. I don't have like a big serious training program or anything. Like, I'd love to, but it's just with my little program, my little time I got, that's what I fit in. So
it's all you can do, man. Just do what you can do.
Exactly.
Sometimes I think I'm not racing right now, motorsports, but I am doing some mountain bike races and foot races just for staying competitive in the meantime as weight turns out. But sometimes I think, I wonder if all this mountain biking and cycling is really going to help me that much. I mean, I know it will help for endurance and cardio and all that, but it's like, I think it'd be better if I had more throttle in my hand, right? If you have that throttle control in your right grip, then maybe it's more beneficial than 2,000 miles a year on a bicycle. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think the same thing. And like, there's dudes like even in our sport that they train nonstop and they're really serious about it. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's really just a mental thing. Like if and you think that you're the baddest dude out there, you're gonna go out and do good.
Yeah.
Where if you're off the couch, you might be a little, you might doubt something or something.
Sure.
But for us, I mean, it's flat track's definitely, it's a physical sport. We're definitely out there throwing the things around, but compared to like moto, it's not that big a deal. I don't know how road racing is. I've really never, run a road race bike that hard. But is it the same thing like that, or what do you think?
When I did my racing, I would do up to 6 races a weekend.
Okay.
I would race both C's, both B's, and both A's. So 600, 750s, and 1000 super stock and super bike on a 600 stock. So I would race up 5 different classes in addition to the class that I was in. And that was exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100 degrees out. Your bike is 400 degrees or 300, whatever it is. And you're trying to go around the track at the limits of physics.
Yeah, and you're in leathers too.
And you're in full leathers. It's the blacktop is 140 degrees sometimes. For me, it was just, at the end of it, I was laying down on the cement, just like, just give me a minute, pour water on me,
Yeah.
And by doing that, I think it actually helped me learn how to ride better because, the first race, you're fresh, you got all the energy in the world. By race 6, you can't be hanging onto the bike and fighting the bars anymore. So you learn how to just lean off the bike and not really use your upper body as much, which in road racing was more beneficial for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the flat track physical feeling is, but I would have to guess that that's very physical too, because you're fighting it just coming around on you every single corner, every time.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Like we went to Charlotte Motor Speedway this year, the dirt track there, and that was like a super banked half mile. And I remember after the race, like my left leg, like up like by my groin, hurt so bad just from being so hunched over with my leg. Like it wasn't even like like I was using it so much, but just having to at the angle we were, because we were, that was like the most leaned over we ever were. And just having to hold my leg up for that amount of time, like it was just tiring. and like there's no way to train for that, Like I don't even know what kind of workout or exercise you could do to hold your leg in that awkward position, but it was just little stuff like that I think that gets you sometimes.
Oh yeah, I still wear, when I go on my mountain bike, I always wear my full face. So that way, when I get back into road racing, at least my neck will be a little stronger.
Yeah, I can see that.
And someone called me what do you say? Called me a squid. I had a squid lid on because I took off the visor.
Oh yeah.
I had a squid lid with the goggles and no visor.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't need the visor. I'm not protecting roost going up. It's just a fin slowing me down.
Yeah, exactly.
I took it off.
Funny.
But is there anything you would like to talk about today?
No, not really. I mean, I just talked about racing. That's what I like. So
yeah, like I said, it was pretty hectic. I'm sorry I started a few minutes late today, but I tried to start on time, but I just didn't have any time to print out any notes today. So I'm going off the dome, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's the season's over for you, but you're thinking about next year already.
Yeah, and like they call it silly season. There's all these rumors and there's all these all this big talk of what's going to happen next year, what the schedule is, who's riding for what team and everything. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I mean, I'm just kind of, it was kind of nice just to take a week off and just not think about it. But yeah, now it's finally starting to set in. Kind of, maybe I should start making some phone calls or getting this in order and everything. So.
Yeah.
And it's nice, like all the little sponsors and everything. Like I have a really good relationship with like Bell Helmets and stuff, and like I'll even like a lot of like my parts people, where it's not like I gotta make a big resume and send them a big proposal and do all that. It's just I can just kind of call my guy, talk to him for a little bit, and like we're all good for next year. So that kind of stuff's cool, but it's just the like the big rumors of like, oh, like this spot's opening up on this team or whatever and stuff like that. So that's just kind of something to think about. But it's not even November yet, so I'm not too stressed out about it. But it's definitely something on my mind. And worst case, I own both my bikes that I have right now, so I could next year I could always throw them in the van and go racing if I had to. So
yeah. And excuse my ignorance, but does AFP offer or allow a B bike? Can you have a B bike being fully built?
Yeah, so you can tech, like in the beginning of the day, you can tech 2 motorcycles that you can use at any point during the day.
Okay.
So like, if I go out and qualifying and blowing up, pretty much I could ride the other one in like the heat race or the main event.
Yeah.
So, and like it used to be is like where if I was out in like the main event, let's just say, and I crashed and like destroyed it, I could get on another bike for the restart. But now like with some rule changes and stuff, they kind of cut that out for our class at least. The Super Twins, they can still have the backup bike, but I think that's more of like a fan for the shows kind of, or a show for the fans, to like build drama or something.
Well, it's pit lane, they can go through the pit lane and see all the bikes. Yeah,
exactly. So like that. So back when we could use the 2 bikes, like I remember we were at Daytona one year on the 450, and Daytona is this little small slick short track. And in the main event, we went in the first corner, and I wadded it up, and I ripped the exhaust off it or something. So then my mechanic and my buddy, they got the backup bike, brought it out to me, and this is back when it was a carbureted bike. It was an '08 Honda 450.
Yeah.
And I go do the start, and I go to the first corner, and then like the thing quit on me. and I reached down and they never turned the gas on. You know,
Oh,
the petcock. So I mean, right in
yeah.
the main event, everyone rides by me and I'm in last. And I reached down, turned the petcock on, bumped it back off, and then took off. So it
Well, at least you had the presence of mind to think about that during a main event while you're racing,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, and it's
Like,
funny
oh,
too
I
because
don't
like
know, you know?
back when I rode that bike, it was always like I was like you know weird about it. I would always check to make sure the gas was on. So
Yeah.
maybe that was it. But no, I mean now there's no backup bike. Like if the bike breaks during the main event, let's just say, and like if they do red flag it, they give you some time to work on it and switch parts and stuff. But if it blows up or like anything catastrophic, you're pretty much done. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of a bummer. So
And do you have an engine allocation for the season?
no, I mean you can do pretty much whatever you want. I mean you could put a new motor in it every time if you
Yeah.
wanted. So you
Which
don't need
sounds nice, but expensive.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it might give you a little bit more reliability, but is that worth another X thousands of dollars, you know, every single race? It depends on how bad you want that championship, right? And how
Hmm.
much reliability issues you're having.
Yeah, and I mean we all, you know, everyone with all the different bikes and everything, like we pretty much know how long they'll go, you know, like reliably without blowing up.
Yeah.
So like I have two bikes and I have three motors. So at halfway through the year I'll rotate in the motor pretty much. Then we'll
Okay.
freshen the other one up, and so it's we never try to push them too long to the point where they're like on the edge of destruction or anything.
Yeah.
So but yeah, there's no like, you know, like parts limit or like sealed engines or anything like that. You know, we're pretty free with all that stuff.
Yeah. It sounds like AFT does a pretty good job with their fans and promotion. And I mean, I'm just getting into myself, but it seems like a pretty good show, pretty good entertainment to me.
Yeah, they've really bumped it up. So like we used to be like AMA Pro Flat Track. That was back in
Yeah.
like 15, 16. And
Yeah.
then AFT took over like I think 2017-ish. And
Okay.
AFT, they're like, you know, they're basically Daytona Motorsports Group from what I understand. And they have this big vision of like they want us to be like big time. They want us to be like NASCAR, like MotoGP and, you know,
Yeah.
F1. They want us to be like a big motorsports thing in America.
Yeah.
So they've kind of had this new vision, and they did a lot of weird rule changes and a lot of weird things that a lot of people hate, some people like. They really cleaned up the paddock, honestly. Like we look like legit now. Like, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
there's semis and toter homes, and we're big deal now.
Yeah.
So I mean that's cool. Like there is like some money coming into the sport and everything. Like just this year they started the Super Twins, which it
Yeah.
used to be like just called like the Pro Twins, but now it's basically it kind of sucks. It's a buy-in. You have to buy in, and there's only a certain amount of teams and a certain amount of riders, and it's like F1. It's like, you know, there's only this many teams, this many riders, and it's the
Yeah.
same riders in every main event. Like there is no qualifying for a main event.
Okay.
It's just yeah, like you're basically like you're pre-gridded kind of.
Right.
So which that kind of sucks because, you know, like it used to be like a few years ago, there could be a dude in, let's just say, Ohio, who was really fast at one track in Ohio, and he could train all year, you know, be really good, and then show up to that race and go top 5 it, you know.
Right.
We're now, like, there is no more just showing up. You got to be one of the guys to do it.
Yeah.
So that sucks, but it is cool for the sport, and I think it did help us grow a little bit. So we'll see what happens next year, though. I mean, this year was terrible with the delayed schedule and like the no fans and everything. So yeah, I'm really not sure what direction they're going to go next year, but I'm sure they're in the works right now figuring that out, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm just happy that motorsports is still alive and kicking after the Rona and all the shutdown stuff with, I mean, you got to imagine, I didn't hear a ton of it. There's some in like March, April that I heard about, but sponsorship pulling out. There was like
Mm-hmm.
car pulled out of Canadian Superbike. There's a few here and there, but nothing major really. I was actually surprised. I mean, they want to keep their marketing budgets. They want to keep their presence out there, but if there's no sales coming in, it's hard for some of those companies to say, yeah, we'll give you 10 grand to go race a motorcycle, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like what sucked for us too is that they made everything a double header. So instead of having like 18 different rounds in different places, we had 9 weekends with 2 races a weekend.
Wow.
So yeah. And so then when they did that, they cut our purse a little bit too. And they said, oh, well, you know, you're not spending the gas money driving to different places. So, you know, it's all going to work out.
Yeah, right.
Which I know, you know, yeah, well, you know, we're not driving, but, you know, we're getting double the hotels, we're using double the tires, double the fuel, we're putting wear on the bikes. And then it was back-to-back weekends too, which sucked.
Yeah, you got no time to tear down the bikes and put everything back together if you had an issue, or even just for maintenance. You know, some guys, for road racing will tear down an entire motorcycle and fix, all new seals and bearings and whatnot.
Hmm. Yeah, I watch like Kyle Wyman's team. I keep up with him a little bit. And it's
Yeah.
like they change a motor like every once a weekend almost, you know. And on a road race bike, that's no easy feat. Like the
Yeah.
motor is the chassis pretty much in that thing. So
It's a big
that's a
part,
lot.
yeah. And
But,
I loved seeing I think it was called the Super Prestigio. Is that
yeah,
the word? Over
yeah.
in Europe with Marquez and Aleix Espargaro and all those guys. And um, do you see yourself ever competing in a race like that?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if they had it, you know. I think back then, like, I know they took Brad Baker, who he was like the national champion, and Jared Mees
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see those guys go over and, you know, race Mark and everything. But it was weird because it was like a weird, you know, like they weren't riding like flat track bikes with flat track tires. They were riding 450s that were lowered down, but they had these weird like 16 or 17-inch like supermoto slicks on them, and it was just
Yeah.
a whole different like, you know, track setup and configuration,
Yeah.
everything. So it kind of like leveled the playing field for a lot of people. So yeah, that was definitely cool to see. I'd like to see it on, you know, on our like AFT spec tire and everything though. That'd be a fun race to watch.
Yeah, we should invite all the Europeans over here into our soil and
Yeah.
run for their money.
They did it one year. We had this like the last race of the year. It was an indoor in Vegas. It was in like the arena of like a casino in Vegas, and they did like a little Super Prestigio. I don't really remember who all came over, but I know like a lot of the road racers ran it, like the American guys like Gagne and a few others. I think Tony Elias maybe did it. So that was kind of cool. But I mean that was just a terrible racetrack though for the most part. You know, to have a race like that though.
Yeah.
So
So are there any tracks out there in the U.S. that you would like to see them go to that they're not going to?
like the AFT series, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this year we had that super condensed schedule and we went to a few new places. But really, though, I'd like to see, like right now, like all the racetracks you go to, for the most part, the half miles, they're all, you know, like sprint car tracks, you know? It'd be really cool to go see like the fairgrounds, like the deep cushion, like Lima, Ohio. That's like the one that we didn't get to go to this year, but normally that's like V1 every year. And it's deep and dirty and nasty and it's rough, you know, like we put like 20 something tear offs on before the main event, and
Yeah.
by 5 to go, we're usually wiping the shield because we pulled them all, you know.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, it's just it destroys the bikes, it destroys the helmets. It's really rough on equipment, but I think it'd be cool to go to some of the cool old fairground tracks like that and go see it.
Yeah.
And then like this year, where like I really excelled was on the miles. Like I won Indy Mile, which was cool, and then we only had two miles. We had Indy and Springfield, so it'd be cool to like DeCoin, Illinois. There's a huge sweet mile there. We usually go to Lexington, Kentucky. That's like that, you know, that's like big like ritzy horse country, you know.
Sure.
So but I mean the track's awesome down there. And then Oklahoma City, Remington Park, that's another big fancy horse track, and like those places are cool too because they're big like gambling casino horse race places.
Yeah, like a big not a national, but maybe, but a big facility like that to host all those fans too.
Oh yeah, and like the grandstands are sweet. They're all like glassed in. Like there's people serving drinks and stuff. It's cool to go to one of those places just for the facility even. So I think that'd be cool to go to some of the bigger horse racing venues. I know some people hate that because, you know, it just destroys stuff, which does suck, and it's really hard on everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think it's cool too, like the big World of Outlaw tracks, like Charlotte, for example. Like we were there the same weekend that they were racing at the like Xfinity and NASCAR was at the Roval doing their race. Cool. Yeah, so like you know, we could hear them qualifying all day because we're just outside.
Yeah.
So like Texas Motor Speedway, they got the same setup. They got the dirt track right outside the NASCAR track. So, you know, it'd be cool to go to like a lot of the, you know, like the same time like a NASCAR thing events run us on like a Friday or something and try to draw some fans in. That's like I seen Bristol next year. They're gonna cover Bristol in dirt and run NASCAR on it. I mean, they should, you know, run us a day or two before. That'd be
they should run you as a support series for NASCAR.
Yeah, all the places that have a dirt track, that'd be perfect.
You know, and that'd be awesome. You know, just like they'll do sometimes MotoGP with one class of Moto America.
Yeah.
Should do NASCAR with the same thing for AFT.
Yeah, or even like World of Outlaws too, you know, like Eldora. Eldora would be a sweet track to go to.
Yeah.
but and I'm sure there is some issues with like track prep and stuff like that. But it'd be, I'm sure they could, they could figure something out and work us in.
I never thought that you guys would race on horse tracks. I never made that connection, but it makes sense. I would somehow think that that's not safe for the horses, but it's not at the same time, obviously.
Yeah, and like the horse tracks, a lot of them they're the old, like county fairgrounds or state fairgrounds or something. So, and yeah, like the tracks, they're a lot like up in Michigan, we really don't have the limestone, but they're like kind of like a sandy, loamy, like it's dirt, like the track's dug up. Then you go down south a little bit, or like the Midwest, like Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, they got it's honestly like little chunks of limestone, like little
Okay.
crushed limestone, and it like the roofs is just terrible. Like it eats the paints right off the helmet.
Yeah.
And it's when it's wet, it's like getting sprayed by like wet concrete almost. It just
And you
sticks.
have no shield, no visor. You can tuck behind. You just got the.
No. Yeah, you're out there pretty much, and but yeah, it's like getting hit with like wet concrete almost. It just splats you,
Yeah.
and but yeah, like it'll eat the paint right off a gas tank sometimes, and it's rough. But and like the tracks, they get deep and rough and rutted and everything, and it kind of really brings out the rider side of it.
Yeah.
It's cool though. It's it's definitely probably one of the funnest races to watch, but probably the least fun to be out there doing for some guys.
And everybody's got the same track to deal with. So although it may be bad, I don't know about bad conditions is the right word, but just loose anyways, and it's up. You just got to be out front, then you don't get hit with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it does kind of make for some better racing sometimes, because there is dudes that, they'll run right up on the top, like right up against like the air fence and everything. And then, so you'll have a line coming in up there, then you'll have guys right down on the bottom, like in the grass, just trying to chase, like, if there's a little bit of rubber down there or something laid down. So
Yeah.
it does make for awesome racing too.
Yeah.
But, and that's kind of, to me, that's like grassroots dirt track. That's a lot of people came up on those little fair tracks and everything. And, that's kind of where it all started for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those grassroots is where it began.
Mm-hmm. And like the whole thing with that too is like there's dudes who like they can only ride a cushion,
Yeah.
and then there's guys who like you put them on like a clay half mile and they're out of their element. But then nowadays there's so many clay half miles, a lot of guys are just dialed right in on those. So like when we go to like the cushion, it's kind of like a one-off, like you really don't know what's going to happen for the most part.
Yeah, it changes things up. Different people shine, different people do worse. It's cool to see. And you just got to be adaptable. You got to be changeable. You got to be willing to change your riding style to whatever the course conditions are.
Mm-hmm. And even bike setup too, that's a huge thing compared to like the clay tracks. When you go to a loose track like that, you got to, you flip the bike right around pretty much. It's just between like, swing arm angle, wheelbase, air pressure, all that kind of stuff makes a huge difference when you go there. So.
Now, if I was an organizer, I would want to see a right-hand turn track.
Yeah, a TT track.
So it would be like you could even go to the same track, it just opposite direction today.
Yeah, I don't know. We've never did that before. Just flip the track around.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. Yeah, it'd be
I was thinking maybe the rear brake's in the wrong spot going right, but I mean, you could figure it out.
Yeah. Well, what's funny too? So like when we do like even like out on the ice, like in the wintertime, we ice ride a lot. Like when we turn right on the ice, like you really don't even touch the rear brake. You pull the front brake and you slide the thing in. But like I could never do that going left.
Yeah.
Like it's weird how like we like adapt, or like we figure that out somehow. But
yeah,
it seems like anytime we turn left, we put our foot out and we throw the thing right down and we drag the rear brake. But like when we turn right, both feet are up on the pegs, we're on the front brake. It's just different. And I don't know what it is, like why I could never do the same thing between going right and going left. But it just is.
It's just I think a habit. I snowboarded for a long time. Got many black patches, both regular and switch.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the courses a couple of times, switch, and it really taught me how to ride, how to relearn how to ride. And it made me realize that I have to rotate my shoulders almost 90 degrees to feel comfortable. And I wasn't doing that for a long time, switch. I'm like, let me relearn how to do this. And sometimes relearning a different way helps you learn the fundamentals. So maybe it could help you realize what you're doing when you're going left.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. I guess another thing too is like on the dirt, we don't have we wear a steel shoe around the left boot. I mean, I'm sure, have
Okay.
you seen those or seen
Yeah,
one or
yeah.
anything?
Yep.
Yeah, so we have like a steel shoe that wraps around our boot, so it makes the leg, it's a lot easier to slide across the dirt. So I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's a big reason too why we don't stick that right leg out there and get it
Yeah.
caught in a rut or something.
Right. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, it's just interesting all the different techniques and things like that. I'm just a fan of it, man.
Hmm. Have
Uh,
you seen much ice racing or riding or anything or?
I'm in Michigan as well, but I've never done it myself.
Hmm.
Seen some videos of it of friends of mine. They'll put those the nails or studs in the tires and just go ripping. Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. The guy I know, Jason Farrell, actually I think has maybe the Guinness World Record for the fastest wheelie on ice
Okay.
over in Wisconsin.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, I've never been on the ice myself to race, but it sounds like a blast.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother, a whole nother can of worms almost. But it's like like to us, ice is like the great equalizer because, like, to me at least, from coming from the dirt, ice is like unlimited. You're hooked up traction.
Yeah,
Not as much as like a road race biker on the asphalt, but when you're out on the ice, it's consistent for the most part, and it's you're hooked right up. So like it's cool because like a lot of like the moto guys or like the road race guys, they can come over and like they ride with the flat trackers, and like everyone's for the most part on equal territory.
yeah,
And it's cool, like, now, especially in the past, like probably 6, 7 years, we only ride like we call them GP or like road race course out on the lake. Like,
yeah,
we really don't go out and just ride an oval like they used to. So it's cool though, you can get people from a lot of different disciplines, different riding styles out there riding with each other, and it's cool. Another thing that's funny too is like in Wisconsin, like they do it totally different than we do it over here. Like we
yeah.
use these big, and I guess a lot of it's just like who's building the tires and how they're building them. But over here, we call them Canadian screws. They're just like a little bit taller of a screw, and like they're arranged in the tire a little bit differently, and you can ride through like if there's like a half inch of snow on the ice, you can ride through the snow pretty much and just cut a track in, and it
Okay,
works. And
yeah.
and you're still you're hooked right up. Like it's awkward feeling the first time you do it. Like
I
the
bet.
first ride of the year, you're hesitant almost.
Yeah,
But and then like in Wisconsin, they use like what we call like the AMA screws. It's shorter, and yeah, and those dudes ride over there, and that's, I guess, it's just kind of like the how your group is, I guess.
yeah,
And you might have to plow the track a little bit different or a little bit more, but and I guess that's another thing. So when it does snow, like they take quads or trucks out, and you got to plow the ice off. And even like perfectly like no snow glare ice reacts different than ice with snow on it.
sure,
So
yeah.
that's kind of like another variable too to deal with. But it's a good time all around, and it's really a fun thing to do in the winter if you're not going south and riding down there.
And fairly cheap, as long as you don't fall through the ice, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I guess that's another story I could get into. But no, I mean, ice riding's actually it's got kind of super expensive. Like tires are like $1,000 almost. Like
Oh yeah,
to get the best set of tires, and there's only a few guys building them. And ice riding, it's all about the tires for the most part. So yeah, tires are super expensive though, and I mean they honestly they wear out over time. Like the screws kind of get like a little
they
bit
get
loose.
dull.
Yeah, they get dull, and they get like kind of wallered out in the lug, and they start to pull out of the lug.
Yeah,
So that sucks. But yeah, like there's people get really serious into ice riding. Then you go into like the whole like the heated handlebar thing, and the endurance racing is a big thing in Wisconsin. They do like a 3-hour endurance ice race.
man.
Yeah. Oh, and it's always like like in the negatives the day they do that.
You better be dressed right for that.
Yeah, but yeah, they got like the whole like the quick fill gas tanks and everything, and
Oh
they're
wow,
really, yeah, they're really serious about it over there.
that's pretty cool
So
though.
yeah, really cool for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure they get into the climb gear, KLIM, with all the heated
Oh,
gear that they
yeah,
have.
like the snowmobile gear and everything.
Yep. That
Yeah.
stuff always reminds me. I got nothing bad to say about that company, but it reminds me of the Final Destination, where the stuff like would catch on fire or something.
Yeah.
Get out of it.
Yeah.
But I've never used it myself. But it looks cool.
Yeah. But no, the whole going through the ice too. So actually, Rob, who you work with, I was young. I was like, I don't know, maybe like 13, 14. We were like out in like the middle of the lake pretty much, and I ran out of gas. And Rob, and it was one of those days where it was like probably March, and it was like 55 and sunny. But
Yeah.
I mean, we were out on the lake, and they had drilled holes, and it was like 6 inches of ice, and we were good to go. and I ran out of gas in the middle of the lake, and I was pushing the bike back, and Rob came up, and he was going to give me a push, like, you know, put his foot on the exhaust and push.
Yeah.
And right when he got to me, it was like slow motion, like the ice like cracked like right underneath us, and it was just the bikes were gone. Rob actually went into the water. We had to pull Rob out.
Wow.
But no, it was terrible. We were like in shock afterwards. You know, we're standing there in the middle of the lake, yeah, and it's just gone. So then the next day we hired a like a scuba team, and they came in, they jumped in, went under the ice, and they hooked these big airbags to them and blew the airbags up, and then our bikes popped right up. But it was yeah, and it was just kind of one of those freaky things how it all happened. But
That's an adventure for sure.
yeah, for sure. That's something I'll never forget.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Is 6 inches not enough for? Isn't it supposed to be like 18 inches or something?
No, 6 is more than it. You could drive a car on 6 inches. Like
Yeah.
when we ride, you know, like there's always like a competition to see like, you know, who can be the first one on in the lake. And, you know, if there's 2.5, 3 inches of good cold ice, you know, you can go ride on 3 inches.
Right.
So it's just, but then, you know, that day we learned that when it's warm, ice starts to get soft and bendy, and it doesn't.
Really quick. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't do too good. So.
And are those like sanctioned events, the ice races, or are they just for fun, like with your buddies that you're doing?
Yeah, there is some races. I mean, I really don't do any of them, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to be like really into it to do ice races. It's not my thing. But like every weekend though, I mean, you could, you know, there's a really good group of guys, all the, you know, fast guys that go out and ride together, and you know somebody brings a plow or two, and you know they keep the track really nice, and it's but there'll be like 40-50 guys out on the lake just you know riding. So.
And do you have to fill that the track line? Would you have to fill that in with water every so often to refill that?
No, not really. I mean, like, so like with our Canadian screws, like they dig the ice gets rough, like really rough. It gets like, you know, breaking bumps and rutted and nasty. So, you know, like if the track starts to get bad, you just, you know, you move over 10 feet, like you're on a lake, you know, so you can pretty much cut in. Yeah, you can cut in whatever you want. So it's just, if it starts to get, you know, a little rough or some slush starts to come up or something, you just move over 10 foot and cut a new corner in for the most part. So
perfect. Brand new track.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. So, well, yeah, we're coming up to about an hour. So let's tell everybody, where can they find you online? Where are you out there?
So I'm biggest on Instagram. I mean, I don't even know my Instagram hashtag. I think it's
you can look it up. I'll wait. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's Ben Lowe 25. So that's my Instagram. That's kind of what I post on most. I'm usually just like, you know, race reports or just something, whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
Ben Lowe Racing on Facebook. That's another big thing. That's where I post a lot of my stuff too, like on the race weekends and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, between those two, those are kind of my go-tos for sure.
Very good. Are you on YouTube at all? Do you put out videos?
No, I'm not in the big video game. I don't have a website or do any too much on the video producing. But but yeah, I do love when people have like race vlogs and everything. It really kind of shows you like the behind the scenes or like kind of what actually happens off the track. I do like watching a lot of people's stuff on that. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that Kyle Wyman, he has a series out that's awesome. Then he has Gray Pham, who's also somebody I interviewed on this podcast. You can check one of those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But he's videographing his entire race weekend, and it's like 15-20 minute really snappy short edits, and he does a fantastic job. And I would like to see someone do something like that for flat track to come in there and see the behind the scenes and show everybody what it's all about. It's cool to see.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be cool for sure, especially at like, you know, one of the guys like on like the higher level, like in the AFT stuff too, to just kind of show everybody like how much goes into like even like bike setup, like the changes you do coming in from the track and like looking at the data and everything. That'd be I think that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. And it's just the highs and lows. It's like they call it a male drama, you know. It's like the that's what I like to watch anyway. So do you have any parting words for the world? What's your message to the world?
Oh, I don't know, not really.
That's a big one, right?
I'm just trying to, you know, keep on keeping on, just putting my program together for next year, and just hopefully we can pull something awesome together, just like we did this year. I got a guy, you know, a guy named Jerry down in Texas. He's got a big roofing company called Roof Systems, and he kind of came on the scene weird. He just like picked a few guys and gave them some money and helped them out. And then now he's like the one of the bigger teams in flat track. So he's behind me and he helps us out. And yeah, there's a few other guys he helps out with me, and we're just kind of we're one big traveling road show. So it all works out. We all kind of run our own program and everything. But without Jerry though, I mean, we couldn't do it. So he's a good guy. He just likes coming to the races and hanging out, just ask questions about the bikes and everything. So it's a good time.
Yeah. And are there any people in AFT or in amateur ranks for flat track that you have your eye on that you think, hey, this guy is coming up, this guy's an up and comer that you're kind of keeping tabs on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the singles class, the 450 class. There's a lot of young kids, or even some older dudes there with a lot of talent and a lot of promise. I think that when they get on the big bikes, they're definitely gonna be something to worry about next year for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about really any in particular. I don't know. Like I said, it's like the silly season. I don't know what everyone's plan is or who's gonna be riding what next year. But there's a ton of young guys coming up, especially in that 450 class. Like to me, I mean, it would suck to be the 16-year-old kid just turned pro and have to go ride that class. It would be
so competitive.
It is, and it's to the point too where like with the Super Twins turning into like the buy-in thing.
Yeah.
And the whole only a limited amount of spots. It gets to the point where like there's really really good guys that don't have a ride. So the cheapest way for them to go try to make some money is to go ride the 450 class.
Yeah.
So there's dudes who who could go win the Super Twins class riding the 450s against the kids pretty much, and it's brutal out there for sure.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, that's a really tough class, and anyone who's doing good in that, they could come out and win in any of the three classes, I think.
Yeah. It shows that you have the tenacity and you can fight through a lot of stuff if you can win in that class.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you want to give one last sponsor shout out to somebody?
Yeah, really, Jerry at Roof Systems, that dude, he kind of believed in us, and I was pretty, I was kind of a nobody when he picked me up, and he came on, we got a lot of podiums and a win, so that was awesome. And then just, my whole little support group at home, my girlfriend, my mom and dad, Uncle Rob, everyone's just, my brother, everyone kind of puts a little helping hand in, and they help get me to the races here and there every week. So
very good.
It's all, I used to say like, it's all the little people, I really never had the one big, team or sponsor.
Yeah.
But all my little people come together with, between like parts or helmets or gear or anything, and it all works out. So.
Very good. Well, it's been great talking to you, Ben. I appreciate you spending an hour with me, and we'll send everybody to your channel so they can follow you as well. And I'm going to edit this one probably in a week or two and get it posted, and I'll be sure to send it to you. Make sure that you tag everybody who we talked about if they're on Instagram and all that, and
yeah,
we'll get it done.
Cool. Hey, thanks very much.
Thanks,
had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again. Have a great day.
All right, you too. See ya.
All right, bye, guys.